From WDWNT, the worldwide leader in Disney parks news, this is ParksCenter. Hello there, everybody, and welcome to this week's edition of ParksCenter. My name's Ben, and we have with us tonight Allison.
Happy Wednesday, everyone.
Jill.
Hello.
Rob.
What's up, guys?
And Pete.
Sivaco! There it is. Had to unmute. I'm not going to do it.
Oh, you had me nervous for a second there. I'm like, oh no, did we do it again? Nope, we're good.
I
Okay.
stood in the corner and I was like, I'm not going to do this 2 weeks in a row. No way.
Nicely saved, sir. All right, well, let's go ahead and kick things off tonight with a bit of a frustrating story to be looking at off the top, but it's kind of important that we talk about this. So the Walt Disney Company has officially restored the salaries of its senior executives, including this wonderful, wonderful gentleman here who may or may not be a robot, to what they were at pre-COVID levels. If you may recall, they had originally reduced a lot of these pay levels voluntarily when they were starting to furlough employees. Meanwhile, some employees are still on furlough, and they have, in fact, extended the furloughs for many cast members at Walt Disney World. Yes, the parks are still open, but they have not brought everybody back. So there are still a good large number of casts that are furloughed and apparently going to continue to be furloughed. Meanwhile, CEOs make more money than ever. This can't go without getting covered. This is we need to make noise about this because I can't stand just watching stuff like this. You don't need that much money. I'm going to start the ranting tonight. You don't need that much money. You can go for a while without having your ludicrously large salaries and your mansion. I know that property and stuff like that you have to pay for, but you've got to have enough in reserves that you can live for a while when you make that much. Meanwhile, people are literally unable to eat, and they're on unemployment, and that unemployment benefits are starting to go away. This is getting ridiculous. What are you doing?
And when you own all property like that, you have the option to liquidate it if you need it, if you didn't save enough. But the people that make up the heart of this company don't have options like that because they don't have enough money to own property that they could just liquidate, because if they own it, they're living in it. This is just the world's most terrible optics, and I just can't help but compare it to a friend of mine who works at a big law firm, and the way the law firm handled a reduction in revenue coming in was, okay, so the partners are going to take 3/4 of what they normally would be taking in, and they did reductions for the people at the top, and then they kept 100% of secretary salaries, paralegal salaries, anybody who is support staff, because they know that they make so much less relative to the leadership. And I understand that may not work with every business model, but the optics of this are terrible. You should not be restoring your salary to normal levels until you're able to fully pay your cast members and other employees, and they can maybe eat again. This is disgusting.
Yeah.
If I can jump in real quick, you said the key word is optics. That's the problem. Is that whenever this is a lit the meat cake situation, isn't it? Because they're like, hey, we're going to get our money. And it was really, it was nice that they took the cut in the beginning, and it was great that Iger deferred everything, and Chapek was like, hey, wait, this is my first shot at this money. Let me keep a little bit more of it. But you're right, it is about the optics of it, because of moments like this where you say you have these cast members that you care about, that they mean the world, they make the difference. They ran a whole special about how the cast members make a difference, and the whole One Day at Disney thing. And so it's we really care about our people. That's where it's hard, because you're right at this point. I can't imagine that the optics of it are worth whatever that they're taking off the top here, because they don't need that much money on the I mean, they're getting paid a bunch. I would think that especially in a time like this, they would go for the optics and the win and the goodwill and just say, look, we're gonna put this into the cast fund. We're gonna donate to the cast pantry, whatever we're gonna do. We're gonna go ahead and make that difference right now for our employees because we care that much about our cast members. The optics thing, you're right. Absolutely 100%. This is the dumbest move to do this right now.
Rob should run a telethon, because that was like total telethon pitch right there. Donate
Please
today.
give. Please give.
Rob should run for
Just a
president because we got another $5
quick
super
thing.
chat for Whiteside Axle 2020.
Right. Quick things, and then I'll let Pete rant, because I'm sure he's got some things to say. First of all, I wonder what would be happening right now if Bob Iger was still CEO. Because Bob Iger, I think, kind of was but he's not, apparently, in some ways that are pretty important and count, like the company, by way of Bob Chapek, basically sticking its foot in its mouth repeatedly. Like, to the point about optics, Bob Chapek has openly demonstrated that he doesn't care about optics. He doesn't care what he blurts out in public at shareholder meetings that insults customers of his company. So apparently he doesn't care that it looks terrible that literally the same week you're bringing back your full salary, meanwhile saying, oh yeah, hey, cast members who are furloughed, you're staying furloughed until at least November. The other thing this tells me is that Disney's pretty much given up on the next 2 months of park attendance, and they're focusing on the holiday season. And I'm sure the parks have been open long enough now that they see what people have started planning. I mean, when they reopened in July, I don't think they thought a lot of people had started planning, but now I think they're seeing that people aren't planning trips in September and October, and they're basically just saying, you know what, we're kind of holding off on this and sticking all our eggs in the basket of holiday season is going to pick back up.
Yeah.
All right, so I think that everyone kind of hit the nail on the head of what I was going to say a little bit. One, like, again, from an optics perspective, it looks really bad. However, I don't mind them taking their salaries. Their salaries aren't even that big. Like, we all think like, oh, millions and millions. Those all come in bonuses at the end of the year, which not a lot of them are going to hit. And even if they do hit their minimum bonuses, that's what I want to see them give back to cast members. That's what I want to see them say, hey, we're going to put this into a fund, or we're not going to take bonuses this year. Their salaries aren't that big. If you look them up, they're not that bad. So yeah, they got to pay the bills. They got electric, and they have their houses that they bought back in 2019 when life was good. Yeah, take your salary. I don't mind you taking your salary. Yes, it looks very bad. So optically, it does look very bad that there's cast members that are still furloughed. Ben made a great point that people are coming off unemployment, or they're hitting their max, and the $600 federal PUA ended. So, like, this is all bad timing, but whatever. I'd rather see them make some kind of announcement saying, hey, listen, we're taking this. We're Americans like all of you. We earn our salaries. We're going to take them. But our bonuses, which are in the millions of dollars, that is the big one. Like, I think even like Iger earned like, I think his salary wasn't even that much. I think it was like less than $500,000. But his bonuses were like
makes $2.5 million a year as a base salary. But you're right, because the like
it's like $36 million in bonuses though.
It's like $7.5 million in bonus. So you're right. Like that's the lion's share of what he's taking in. But $2.5 million is still a lot of money and could be used to feed
totally get that.
people who are out of work.
Darn straight.
Maybe the top 5% of the company's salaries should say something along the lines of like, we're going to take only a piece now, and we'll make it back up next year when times are good again. They could have made this look better. The only other thing I'm going to say too is, and this is what you're seeing a lot more of, and this is what scares me, is that Chapek, I feel like, comes more from that make the investor or Wall Street background. Where you see, and this is what scares me with like the big banks, where take care of us first, as long as the bottom line looks good. I liked Iger because he came up through ABC and Disney and was around all those people. So I feel like he had a grasp on it. I love the DeMauro who's coming up, who came up through Disney since 1998, I think, or something around there, 96. Where like he's been around cast members and people. So like I feel like we have Iger on one end, DeMauro on the other, and Chapek's in the middle. I think we all can agree Chapek is not going to last that long. I don't think,
Hope not.
and we've seen this with people in the past at Disney, unless they're paired with someone else, like like a tag team duo, like Wells and Eisner or something like that, or Roy and Walt. Just strictly business minded doesn't work for the Disney company. We've seen that with many CEOs if you go back and look at the history. So I don't think this will last too long if you're just going to stay business first. This is a people first company that happens to make billions of dollars, or at least it should be.
Whew. Jeez. Well,
but anyway,
moving on to Disneyland, which is still not open, but you can get to the Esplanade, Promenade, Adana, Phenomena area out front. They have the background music loop playing in there, and they have removed Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah from that loop without really announcing it. We just kind of figured it out on our own. Disney has announced, in the past few hours, issued a statement regarding this removal, saying, in the quotes down here, the removal of the song from Downtown Disney's background music is part of a continuous process to deliver an environment that features stories that are relevant and inclusive. So this is very clearly another move on their part to remove all traces of Song of the South from the face of the earth. It's I honestly don't know how I feel about this one. I don't know how bad having a nice little tune that doesn't have any lyrics, and those lyrics themselves aren't even a thing.
Right.
I don't necessarily think removing that is worth it, but at the same time, I don't think it really causes any harm to take this out. I know a lot of people are going to be kind of upset to see that it's gone, but I guess it frees up more space to put some other new song in there.
So Jill is chomping at the bit, but I want to say something first. And two things. One is to remove it from the face of the earth, you're going to have to come to my house because I got some Song of the South wishables up here. So, but the other thing is that it reminds me of that we did a Deep in the Plus, Allison and I did, with the Mouseketeers Go to Walt Disney World, and then the very beginning, all of the Mouseketeers are on the monorail singing Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah, but they don't sing the words, and they're just going ba ba da ba ba, and I'm thinking you should officially change the words to that. And then, let's see if we can still put that song out there. But this was an instrumental version too, right? So it didn't really have the words to it or anything, but it's just the connotation that it's part of the Song of the South legacy that is the reason that they removed it. And again, if that's offending people, I'm 100% on board with them removing it. But what I also think is interesting is that they copped to it so quickly. They were ready for somebody to call them out on background music, and I love that. That is awesome. Sorry.
The crazy part to me is that this got picked up. Our article on this got picked up by Fox News. It's crazy how much, it's almost like this made a more intense and immediate splash, pardon the pun, than the ride overlay itself. I think it's interesting. So Courtney mentioned, thank you, Ben, I deserve that. I love that Disney responded. It's actually really shocking to me that Disneyland responded, but I love that they did, and I completely appreciate what they say. However, on the flip side, just yesterday or the day before, they released brand new Splash Mountain Sequoia wood carved plaques at the Art of Disney store in the Magic Kingdom. So it's kind of like, you can't talk out both sides of your mouth here, Disney. I get that you're trying to basically, like Rob said, remove all traces of Splash Mountain from the face of the earth. But if that's what you're doing, stop putting out merch that people are going to buy, because that's hypocritical. That's my soapbox.
To be honest,
I mean, think about it that way. Goodness.
Am I the only one that this doesn't bother? We all know it's going to, now granted, it probably won't go for another, 2 years. But even though it's on its way out, you may as well as change up the music and either get rid of it or put something in its place. You have to start gradually making changes. And, this happens in any construction project. You start somewhere. And if you're going to make people, not be so upset, it would really be upsetting if you walk in singing Zip-a-Dee-Doo-Dah and then you see Splash and you go, wait a minute, this is the ride they're getting rid of. Take it out of their whole conversation. Don't put the song in their head. Like let them like fade out of Splash Mountain. Granted, it's a ride I love. I know we all love it. We've talked about this a million times. But them getting rid of the song in a background music track, it's sad, but it doesn't really bother me. Like this is something that you should do.
No. Epcot's background music loop has had so many extinct and defunct. Epcot's different. How is that?
That is along the lines of Mozart, Handel's Messiah. This is some of the greatest for Bach, and then there's the Epcot entrance music loop, which can never be touched or removed. I
agree with you wholeheartedly, but this argument apparently doesn't apply to that masterpiece, where we still have the C's like original music in that loop. Like, goodness.
The thing is that the entryway to the Disneyland is like you can play anything there. Like that is the home. That's the OG park, so you can play anything from Snow White to Frozen to anything you want in between. That's the OG park. Like, so it's a little different here, I feel like, but there you can get away with like pulling songs out, putting songs in, mixing it up. As a matter of fact, they should have a seasonal playlist. They should be mixing it up all the time. Why not? They're getting lazy. But there's other parks, like here, Epcot, that are sacred. That's different. It's a whole different story. This is apples and oranges.
All right, moving from talking rabbits and talking foxes to talking turtles. I forgot I put that title down there.
Coral!
We potentially have Turtle Talk with Crush returning sooner rather than later. It's expected to reopen by the end of August, which would be before our next show at this point. So this is something that I don't know how they're going to do this. Because, like, with this, the way the theater is set up and everything like that, I don't know how you're going to be able to, like, socially distance Turtle Talk and still have it work. Like, this seems strange to me.
They probably want to have kids sit on the floor. They probably want kids stay with their families and put them into groups and just do smaller shows. Granted, they have the hydrophone, so you don't have to actually be that close to the animals who are talking to you. And just the one cast member can keep a mask on and a face shield with the microphone up front. I think that I think like how they did the American Gardens Theater, if you see our pictures there, but it's just those long benches, kind of like Turtle Talk, and you just have 6-foot strip that says "Don't sit here," and then there's an opening, and then "Don't sit here." And there's an opening. They'll probably do every other row, and it'll probably be like a third of the capacity that they normally do. But if that's entertainment and it eats up some crowds and it gets some people back to work, I'm all for it. I don't know if you have the same response. I mean, you won't get as many of the laughs. You kind of need like that theater at least half full to experience that show, I feel like. A lot of the jokes might go over people's heads, or the kids might not get the jokes. But, I mean, I think they could pull this off. I'm happy if it makes someone get their job back and it brings some, some aspect of live entertainment back into the parks.
They brought back that Disney Junior Play and Dance, which is a very similar situation, but with no seats. So, the thing with that one at Hollywood Studios was all the kids would sit on the floor, and then, you'd see Mickey Mouse, and they'd drop confetti and all that kind of stuff. So I feel like that between the way that they're doing that one and the way that they're doing, like, Tough to Be a Bug, it'll be interesting to see if they go with the plastic dividers like Tough to Be a Bug has in between the seats. Or, that was interesting to me, and not just like, skipping seats like they do at something like Bourne. I can imagine like big stickers that are like set here, on those seats. But I definitely think it's something that they could do. And, not only the idea of bringing back people, but as we've started to see, the lines are starting to increase. And the fact that there could be one more people eater available in the parks is, to me, that's the big win, is that they're going to be able to, disperse people a little bit more by pulling them into something like Turtle Talk. It'll be interesting to see. I mean, I don't know that that's one that gets a huge crowd, but it'll be interesting to see if that's one that like people line up inside, the Living Seas, and then what that line looks like, down the road.
Yeah, that's a good point. The queue it's not really set up to accommodate much of a queue. Yeah, I appreciate that they're bringing back the equity, at least some of the equity actors where they can. And I think that's one of the challenges Disney faces with these shows, is that a lot of the equity performers who are singers are super spreaders, and that's a problem. But in Turtle Talk, you don't have that issue. Obviously, the actors are completely in a separate room. And from a seating standpoint, this is very similar to what they do with Country Bears or Tiki Room, where you've got the long bench seating, and they just have areas marked off where you can and where you can't sit, and they have cast members directing you where to go. I would love to see them maybe, in order, if they do need to accommodate more people, maybe just make the shows a little bit shorter and run them more frequently. I think that's something that could work. And help kind of get people through who want to see the show without causing issues with queue lines or anything. Because sometimes I enjoy Turtle Talk, but sometimes to me it feels like it goes on a little too long, and maybe they could solve all those problems by just cutting a few minutes off the end of the show.
That's fair. Yeah. Jeez. Moving from Epcot over to Studios to an attraction that is opening to an attraction that didn't open. We've got Rise of the Resistance having technical issues 4 days ago and not opening at all. So Rise, for those who haven't been watching our live streams, Rise of the Resistance has been having some issues. It's been going down not just for cleaning, but for maintenance and other assorted issues on a very regular basis at this point. I believe the quote from Tom was that he was shocked he got through it without having the ride go down one day. That's kind of ridiculous. Oh my gosh, I did this whole ride without it breaking. What are you doing?
Yeah, I usually have that response when I can get through a transaction on Shop Disney without it breaking, but
that's fair.
Yeah, but and I'm not kidding. It is legitimately it's like a hope and a prayer, and I hit the button, and if Joy's waving at me, I go, "Yes, did it." I gave you my money. I think I look at this one at two different ways. Like, one is that Louis C.K. had this, not that I approve of Louis C.K., but just the reference to Louis C.K. is that he had this thing that he was talking about airplane Wi-Fi, and how a guy, right after airplane Wi-Fi was a thing, the guy next to him was complaining that it wasn't working. He's like, "Oh, you mean the thing that you didn't know you could do on a plane isn't working, and now you're mad about it?" So it's like, I don't understand how they get it up into the plane in the first place, and here you're yelling at it. We asked for a state-of-the-art attraction from Disney, and Rise has a bunch of moving parts, right? And so it is, to me, one of the more technologically advanced attractions that they've ever built, because we wanted there to be something amazing for Star Wars. And so that's the one hand of it is going to be very complicated and complex, even though, a lot of it is stuff we've already seen before. They've had animatronics before, they've had trackless rides before, but just this culmination of everything is definitely, something that is unprecedented. At the same time, if I've only gotten to ride it once, and if that one day that I had a park pass, if it wasn't there, I would have been not just devastated, but I would have been angry, and because not everybody gets a chance to ride it. How many times has Tom ridden it? 40 times? Not everybody gets a chance to ride it as many times as somebody who is there. And so if this is your only time to go there, and you've gone, in a lot of cases, just to ride this attraction, this is absolutely devastating that this ride isn't working. And I would think that if there's a team on the California side that was making sure that one was running, I would send them with all available parts over to Florida to make sure that one attraction was running. Because if you got to, that's the reason that we can't get a park pass every day, is because...
You think that team is still around doing nothing?
No.
Probably on the next project months ago. There's one guy named Bill with a wrench, and they told him, "Here's how to fix things." And they handed him a book. That's it. It's just Bill sitting there with a wrench. I would think that the way they should come out and be like, "Listen, we don't want to tell you guys this, but Kylo Ren is not an audio animatronic. He's a real person. He got COVID. So he's going to be down."
No.
Too soon. I mean, that's what he was down for 2 weeks. Then he bounced right back. It seemed like he was good to go. And then he developed a cold cough, whatever. I don't know. This ride, we said this about Frozen when it opened. Anything that's super new with new technology that Disney's testing out, it goes on and off with working. And we think it after it works for 2 weeks, we're like, they fixed everything. And then Elsa's face is on Anna's face. It's just, And then same thing with rides. This ride is the most technologically advanced ride Disney's ever done. There's so many different systems going. You know, and then it gets struck by lightning. You know, it's been down for months. It's growing pains to me. I mean, I agree with Rob that I would be very upset if this is the one ride I came down for, and it didn't work. But also, if this is the one time you're coming down, you shouldn't come now. You should wait. This isn't even like real Disney right now. I always tell people, come down if you're AP and you don't care what you ride. You just want to like blow through rides because you don't have shows, you don't have meet and greets. You know, like this is like half price Disney right now. Oh, you're paying full price though. Before I tell people to wait, you know, like it can't expect things to work. I mean, you should expect things to work, but right now it's a ghost crew. I mean, I don't know. I feel for the people who are waiting, but also don't come now. Like, wait till Disney's real Disney again.
But on the flip side of that, this is actually, if you want to ride that attraction, this is kind of the best time to go because, you know, there were all those nightmares of people getting up at 4 a.m. to go to the studios to try to get a boarding pass, and you'd get there and you wouldn't necessarily get a boarding pass. Now,
that's not
it's pretty much. Well, I mean,
sure.
Honestly, I thought it was easier. To be honest, it was easier then. If I knew I had to get up at 4 a.m. and I was guaranteed a boarding group, I would go. I get my boarding group. I know what time it was. I can leave the park and come back. Now I have to go.
You were not guaranteed a boarding group.
I get a boarding group, and I have to hope the ride works. Because then, at least if the ride wasn't working, they would give me another pass to come back the next day or later on in the day. Now, if it doesn't work, they're like, "Hey, what'd you expect? COVID 2020, my bad." And that's it. Like, I'm sorry, you missed.
It was still breaking before. There were still days where they didn't get all the way through the boarding group.
But if you didn't get all the way through, they let you come back the next day, or they said come back later on. Yeah, they gave people parking passes if it didn't work.
I'm just saying, man.
Yeah, you're talking like a Florida resident.
Yeah, you're talking about Florida elitist.
Yeah. No, you weren't. If you got to the park at 7 a.m., you were not guaranteed a boarding group. That is falsehood.
7 a.m. Yeah, you're sleeping in if you go at 7 a.m. That's crazy. Why are you sleeping in?
That's when the park opened. That's when the park opened,
you
and you could put a boarding group.
Is this new for everyone else? Like, if you're
when
7 doors open,
you got there
real early. When
just because you got there early didn't mean you got a boarding group.
Get there 3 hours ahead of time. You have to get early for new rides. Everyone knows this.
Right. But then why?
Just because 2 hours early, a year and a half after Flight of Passage opened, because I wanted to guarantee myself a ride with my family.
Standby line. There's no standby line for rides. There never has been.
Mm-hmm.
All I'm saying is, I'm just making the argument. I don't think this is the best time to come if you want to rise. If you want to ride Rise of the Resistance, I personally would say wait a little bit. Let them get all these kinks out. Like, to me, like, I want a guaranteed perfect experience if I'm going to go out of my way and I'm going to come out of, especially if you're going to drive or fly to Florida right now. Just for Rise is a terrible idea. Don't do that. First of all, you're coming to Florida. It's this state is on fire with COVID. Like, granted, Disney's the safest place to be.
Not as bad as it was, though.
No, not at all. We peaked over a month ago, like July 23rd, 24th.
Still pretty rough.
Was our highest cases, and we've been still going down. But again, we reopened schools. Like, now COVID is going to go back up. But it's a disaster here, people. I have no problem telling you that. Disney is the safest place to be. That's why I go from Disney to my home and back. That is it. I'm sorry.
Well, we are going to move on, and we're going to go rather quickly through this one. The void is now a void. It is devoid of life. There is no void anymore. The void is void. If you had any passes to the void, they are now null and void, because the void is no more.
How long were you workshopping that one, Ben? All day?
No, just while y'all were talking during the last bit. Like, I got that all worked out while y'all were going.
This feels like a Jungle Cruise joke.
It does, doesn't it? The backside of void.
It goes on for Niles and Niles.
But we knew that this was probably going to be happening. We woke up one morning to them having a note on the front door saying, "Hey, you're in trouble. Get out." And they have not been able to resolve that in such a way that they can come back. So that's the end of the void.
Yeah, which is a shame because it was
Yeah.
a neat concept, and we were looking forward to all the new rumored, like the Frozen one that we thought was coming. That would have been cool to see something like that. And I did the Wreck-It Ralph and the Star Wars. The Star Wars was amazing. Yeah, you just stop it with your Frozen hate over there, Diffendahl. But so the Iron Man, it would have been neat to see that one. There was a lot of cool stuff about this. Even if you were going to the one in New York to see the Ghostbusters, it was a neat experience, and it's a shame that they won't be able to have that there. But again, we all knew that when we saw, like when COVID happened and they were starting to reopen, we were all looking at the void going, how are you going to do that? Because there's a lot of things to touch in the dark. So it's just a little weird. Shame to see it go.
It is the most anti-social distance activity that involves the most stuff on your face. I know I said I was going to talk here. But, you're put in a small closet with 3 other people, and you have to put stuff all over your face that you're breathing. It's on your eyes, and you're putting your hands on guns. This is the disaster of all disasters for anything involving getting rid of a pandemic. So you have to get rid of this. I don't think it's gone forever. I think we'll just see it in 2022. Granted, nothing else pops up before then.
Another company, this company is unfortunately sunk, and that's really the saddest part of it for me, because I'm sure we'll see virtual reality experiences pop up here and there, but I think this company that has been really innovative, and I think that the people who work in their development were really outstanding as non-Disney employees who are creating these experiences that are Disney focused and resonate with people who are super Disney fans, and they're not employed anymore, and that's really unfortunate. And I think it's a combination of maybe some poor money management on the part of the company, and then in the face of an unforeseen economic disaster of COVID, and it's really a shame.
Yeah. Let's pick up some of that time that we ate up from the last category and move forward a little early here. We have an announcement of what's coming, or not what's coming, I guess, but that they're looking for what's coming to Disney's California Adventure. We knew that they were going to be doing an Avengers-themed stunt show, but they are now actively seeking out stunt performers. So if anybody in our audience is interested in that, you can find a link to this in the description. And you can apply to these auditions on the Disney Careers website right here. I would love to find out that the folks who got cast as this are people from our channel. But they are currently actively seeking out a Black Panther, a Captain America, and a General, I'm going to mispronounce this, Okoye? Rob, am I saying that right?
Okoye.
Okoye,
yeah.
Thank you. Yeah. So I'm honestly pretty excited for the fact that they are seeking these people out, which in the back of my mind means that they're looking to open soon.
Yeah, but the other part of that is that we knew there was going to be a Doctor Strange magic show, and whether that still is happening or not, I'm not sure. We knew there was going to be the Stuntronic that they were going to send over the top. I don't think they were casting for that one. But they were going to send the Stuntronic over the top. So I don't really know what this is. They already have a Black Panther meet and greet and a Captain America meet and greet, or at least they did when they were open. So, and they were pretty impressive too, the way that they had those set up. Black Panther had his Royal Guard. You would go, you would get your picture taken over there, or you would, the Captain America was over on the other side. These were all things that were set up outside of what would then be later be Avengers Campus. So they already have these characters there. The fact that this thing calls for people to know hand-to-hand combat and this whole stunt show makes me wonder if this is an impromptu thing that would happen, especially sort of like an aggressive character cavalcade. I mean, could we call it that? We get out there, it's like a character cavalcade, where they come and they beat each other up and then they disappear real quick. I wonder if it's going to be something like that, but it would be in story. It would be Civil War, because post Civil War, Cap and Black Panther are good friends, right? So it sounds like it's versus each other, but maybe it's not. I just wouldn't understand why you wouldn't be casting other things too if it was, if it's just Cap and Black Panther. But they already had some that I thought were great. So it's really neat to see it's really neat to see that they may be adding some stuff to this land, especially maybe that magic show can't happen when they first open, and maybe they're looking for something else that can be sort of atmospheric. We get that kind of vibe of we're actually on Avengers Campus and they're training or something like that. So it's exciting. Yeah. I mean, I'm jazzed about it, obviously.
Yeah, I can't wait to see what they do with this. I think it's going to be a lot of fun no matter what it ends up being. But...
Yeah.
I just want to say, state of California, please let Disneyland open.
Yeah.
Disney World has opened. Florida's a hot spot. It hasn't gotten worse. Disney's doing a really good job of keeping people safe. Josh D'Amaro wants to open. Josh D'Amaro is, he's not going to steer you wrong.
He's staying with me.
Let them open.
He's staying here tonight. Josh, come over. His hair's not done. His hair's not done. This guy, you don't have to have your hair done. Put a hat on. Okay. All right. Next.
I get it, Josh. It's fine. Like I get it. Like you're known as that very attractive head of the Disney company.
You don't have to be in a button-down shirt. Stop it. All right. There's Moose.
See if he can get his hair done for the post show. We'll have him come on for the wigs.
He'll do the post show. He said he'll do the post show.
Awesome. Yeah. There we go. Well, if you want to see Josh tomorrow in the post show,
don't.
Well, if you don't want to see Josh, if you want to see our post show, we recommend, if you haven't yet, join WIGS, the WDWNT Interglobe Society, over at patreon.com/WDWNT. For as little as $2 a month, you can help support this show and every other show we put out there, along with getting access to our post shows for News Tonight when that returns on October 1st, and a whole host of other benefits, including exclusive shows like Detailed and Ride Rehab Watches. Again, that's patreon.com/WDWNT. Like I just said, we've got a post show coming up, but that's going to do it for this week's normal show. We will see you all next week.
Bye.
See you go.
Little Ben.
Little Ben.
Where is my wig?